Well, yeah, it's interesting what you're saying about the big studios with the hundreds and hundreds of people in them. Um, from the conversations I'm having with studios and people within the industry, that the lean studios are the ones who seem to have been affected the least with what's been happening. There's going to be a lot of learning from what's happened in the last year or so. Have you got any big takeaways from it?
I think it's pretty much probably the similar thing that most people have seen within the industry is it was inevitable post-COVID. I mean, there was a massive boom in gaming over COVID. Everyone was stuck in the house. Everyone was playing games. Everyone was buying games. We were all, hitting these highs of revenue and sales and all those sorts of things. And then as soon as, lockdown was eased and everyone started going to the pub again, or started going to football, or started going to cinema, and they weren't playing games. And it was inevitable that we would hit something like we are now with people being laid off. But the one thing about the games industry is that it's very, very, because it moves so quickly and it's very adaptable. It's quick to reimagine itself into something new and create a new way of working. And I've seen it so many times over the years that companies will grow, then people will be laid off, or the company will go bankrupt and be dissolved. But from that, like we've seen maybe from like Bazaar and Liverpool and places like that, other companies grow. People are still passionate about making games. They then little satellite companies grow in that area, and all of a sudden you've got another sort of different industry, another creative side, and that's the way the games has always worked. It has its highs, it has its lows, and then from its lows come new opportunities and new things, I think.
I'm really happy you're saying that, because I think fundamentally, away from the negative stuff, what's happening, and I know a lot of people have really suffered from it, but it forces something good to come out of it. Rather than it just eating itself into oblivion, you find people who push against and say, right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this better than how it was done before. And that's how game development's just going to grow and grow and grow, and the boundaries are going to be pushed, and it's going to keep things going, I suppose.
Yeah, and you always see it. I mean, games industry is a relatively new industry compared to a lot of things. 40, 50 years is it? And that's and the way it's moved and rapidly progressed over time. You have to adapt, and you have to be creative, and you have to push things forward, and that's what it's always done. And although it's a bit of a tough time at the minute for a lot of companies and for a lot of people, and I do feel for the people who are losing their jobs. Eventually that curve will change and we will start going up again, and you'll see other companies being formed, new games being developed, and that again that's a good thing, and people will go again to another high eventually. I'm certain of it.
I totally agree. I'm interested to know how's it worked with D3T, how affected, because I don't think anyone's been fully unaffected by it. There's been a ripple where I've spoken to, but how have you guys navigated it? And
I think we've been really lucky in that most of the projects that we have been quite long term, and projects that we've built up relationships with clients for the past 2, 3, 4 years. So in a way, yes, we've lost there was a couple of projects that naturally came to an end. There was a couple of projects that were not really affected by it, but we kind of were lucky enough to have done the part we needed to play, and we moved on, for a better way of putting it, I suppose. So we've been very lucky, and touch wood, we will continue to be lucky that we haven't really felt too many ripples from the greater industry. But it's about just picking up the work where you can, positioning yourself well, and we've spent a lot of time building up a reputation that people have now starting to recognise, and we're known really for the quality of work that we do. And you know, I think it's really stood us in good stead against this at the minute. I mean, fingers crossed we'll continue to with our current clients, and we'll continue to produce solid work and good work. But it's I think it's a tough time, but
Yeah.
we'll get through it.
I suppose it comes back to what you were saying about how you've seen the games development companies changing, like the outsourcers and the independents, for the most part, being the ones who have been affected as much because they're not reliant on one solo project.
Exactly.
You're still going to need those solo project studios, but again, it'll come back to that leaner sort of organization and then getting the support elsewhere, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes it just makes sense. And you know, you look at the programming team that I have, we're building up so much knowledge that you know, if somebody wanted to had a, you know, if a company has got a core members of staff to make a game, and they bring in outside knowledge, that means they can hit the ground running and they can get to a position of, you know, full production quicker than they would have done before, then it makes sense to do those sorts of things instead of, you know, spending a lot of time and energy on recruitment to build a team. You can get a ready-made team almost, you know, within a few weeks of onboarding, really.